All right, guys, we're back. We're back with another agree to disagree boxing podcast. I'm not going to do this show with this. Hey, but if you do want your Goku face mask, hit me up on Straight Outta Content. Also hit me up on Flash Custom Designs. Guys, today I'm finally back. It's been a crazy time. For all you fans out there, this is Agree to Disagree Boxing Podcast. Usually I got my my partner, Omar. Omar's not here today, by the way. Check out the merch. Omar's not here today. Neither is George. George was with us on the last podcast. Make sure you go check that out. George was with us. He was there for the dang, what UFC fight was that? What UFC fight was that? It was Masvidal and Usman. Yeah. Yep, UFC 251. It's late, guys. I'm shooting this. What time is it? It's 9:44 at night. I've been working all day. Shout out to George. George was here. He was all making merch and stuff like that all day. My son is home. Shout out to Donovan's Domain. My son is home. He's finally home after spending a bunch of time in Florida. So he's taking a shower and stuff like that. He's getting ready for the bedtime and stuff like that. But me, I'm back. I had to film this. I had to film this. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into it. I had to make this dang podcast. Reason why I had to make this podcast, so much has been going on in boxing. My last podcast was about UFC because there was nothing going on in boxing. You had a couple of fights. Top Rank, shout out to Top Rank, putting on a bunch of shows. My merch good. Shout out to Top Rank, putting on a bunch of shows. Nobody major. Shakur Stevenson fought. He won, of course. You got a lot of people kind of making noise. Tank Davis and dang, who the heck Tank fighting? Let me see on my computer. I always forget his name, and I seen him fight live too. Not Lee. What's his name? Let me see who's fighting. Not Lee. Dang it, why the heck can't I remember this? Tank versus Davis versus... Dang, why can't I remember this? You tell it's been such a long time since I've been in. Not Yorio Gamboa. Oh, Leo Santa Cruz. I knew it was Lee something. Yes. Tank versus Leo Santa Cruz. That's going to be a crazy fight. I'm going to start with that. Guys, listen, I know what you want me to talk about. But I'm going to get there, okay? I got to go back to what's kind of transpired since the last podcast. So we got a confirmed date of Tank versus Leo Santa Cruz. I've seen Leo Santa Cruz fight. I seen the fight when he lost against Carl Frampton. I seen the fight when he won against Carl Frampton. So I don't know. I mean, this is going to be both of their toughest fight. It's at 135. Leo Santa Cruz is kind of small for 135. And Tank Davis, he's not necessarily small. He's not necessarily small for 135. He's not necessarily big for 135. I think this fight's going to come down to condition and will. Skill-wise, fundamentals goes to Leo Santa Cruz. Talent, now mind you, I said skills, fundamentals, Leo Santa Cruz. Talent, raw talent, that goes to Tank Davis all day. He's genetically meant to fight. He's got the mindset for it. He's a killer when he gets into the ring. He has no quit in him. Nothing about him is you're going to break his will. So, and Santa Cruz has experience. He's an older guy, a little bit older, but he's been in a lot of these kind of huge, big fights and still kind of climbing the ladders. This really is like a step up for Tank. And technically it's a step up for Leo Santa Cruz, but only because it's a step up in weight, not necessarily a step up in caliber of fighter. So, yeah, because Carl Frampton can fight. But I don't know if Carl Frampton, again, coming from that weight, is big enough to bang with Gervonta Tank Davis. So that's going to be, when they made that fight, that really made me think it's not a money grab, but right now boxing has got to make any big fight that they can. outside of certain promotional companies. Certain promotional companies are going to continue to just put on fights just to put on fights. They got a contract. They have to fulfill those fights per year. I'm not going to name any names, but they have to do that. I think this fight coming out the gate, they've both been off. No tune-up fight. They both go to smash each other. That's crazy. That's really what we want to see. You know what I mean? So we also got to see the Tyson Fury. Okay, I guess I'm here. You know what? Let me take a sip of water because I guess I don't even know how the heck I fell into that. And I promise I'm not trying to rush this. And I promise I'm going to miss a ton of content and a ton of fights out there. People are probably watching this and like, dang, he's missing this or he's not talking about this. Listen, I can only talk about what I'm able to see right now. When boxing is flourishing and stuff like that, I'm on it 24/7. I've tried to be on it as much as I can now. It's extremely hard with everything that's going on with merch. We created a merch company with Flash Custom Designs. That's full time. With content like this, I'm pursuing a full-time YouTube career. My subscribers are growing very steadily. I get the info from YouTube. My subscribers are growing at a steady pace. Of course, they could grow faster. So I still have a lot more content that I have to put out. I'm always creating content, and then the editing takes so long. So that's also on top of raising children. Carl's Garage, that's another channel that I have. My daughter's channel, Donovan's Domain, everything, filling orders, for cups, anything that you need, we can do now. But because we really just invested in ourselves. We really spent time, not only time, but we spent a lot of money and time to invest in ourselves so that we could pull away from our 9-to-5 jobs. That's really our goal. My goal is to grow the podcast. As you saw in a lot of the first episodes, this episode 10, thank you for tuning in. The first, first 2 episodes were me and Omar, but because of the virus and everything and the location of where people live, it's kind of hard. So am I gonna quit? There's no boxing because of COVID. Am I gonna quit or am I just gonna continue to put out content? I see a lot of other companies like ES News and Fight Hype and Fight Hub and boxing talk and boxing scene. So I see a lot of these companies still putting out content. Now they're in a position to where they're paid so much from YouTube that they can continue to put out content and they don't have to worry about a 9-to-5. I still do. I still have to run, where I'm not going to say where I work, but I still have to run and manage, 11 other men and women that are under me. So, but hopefully this is the last year that, Chelly and I and the family were able to really branch off. So 2021, we're doing this right here full time, creating content for you guys, for your enjoyment. Hopefully we continue to create good content, good quality content. So that's kind of a reason why, if you notice, I know if you follow me on social media, you didn't see me mention anything about Tyson Fury. You never see me take a side. You never see me bash anybody. Everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Like with TikTok, I don't have a TikTok. I'm a trendsetter. I'm not really a follower. And it's great. I'm sure I should use a TikTok. Chelly's always telling me all the time, we need a TikTok. It's really good for advertising. I will get that when it's time. A company that I think I will get is Thriller, but we'll get to that later. The only reason why I'll get Thriller is because they're going to be showing live fights, and that's what I'm a part of. I'm not a part of like dance and stuff like that. I'm a part of boxing, and they're going to put on, a fight that I will talk about, but, not yet. So to go on into Tyson Fury, I don't, sometimes in life and in boxing, fighters get robbed. We seen that happen with Miguel Cotto. And I cried when Miguel Cotto retired because I felt Miguel Cotto, we don't know, and guys, boxing, like the true boxing fans, like my uncle Steven, shout out to my uncle Steven, and my family, my grandfather, my brother, my father, and Omar, and other guys and Fane, guys that I know personally who really watch boxing, who really pay attention to the sweet science and follow these fighters. What happened to Deontay Wilder reminds me of what happened to Cotto. When he fought Margarito, In that fight when Margarito had the plaster in his hands, you know, you hear a lot of the boxing greats, like, you know, may he rest in peace, brother Nassim Richardson. Um, you hear a lot of these greats, and thank you. Let me shout out to Nassim because he found Margarito would have continued to cheat if it wasn't for brother Nassim, another Muslim brother from, you know, may he rest in peace. He was able to catch the plaster in the midst, in the wraps of Margarito. Now I'll go back to the Cotto fight where he got to use those wraps. Now again, that's not Tyson Fury. We're not claiming that Tyson Fury had wraps or nothing like that. But again, I'm giving context to this story of why I didn't jump in and just start smashing anybody. Why I didn't give my opinion on this subject, because it's a very touchy subject. Come on in, buddy. Oh, come.
Am I gonna be on camera?
You're not gonna be on camera. What's up?
I just want to get some.
Yeah, just move the towel. Go ahead. Your booty's not gonna be on camera. Anyway, oh no, I'm not gonna answer my phone. But the reason why, go ahead. Love you too, babe. The reason why I didn't, it really hits home. What Margarito did to Miguel Cotto, no man should ever have to face that. When two fighters go into a ring, especially champions, when two champions go into a ring and one is clean, whether or not he's on PEDs or whether or not he's not on PEDs or he's clean by not cheating, right? Not doing things to take advantage in a fight. When two fighters do that, they go in there knowing I'm prepared to die. But when the other fighter cheats like Margarito did, it takes something away from the fighter who's clean. And this happened twice with Miguel Cotto. Once with Margarito, and again with Pacquiao. Now again, with Pacquiao, that was a little different because Margarito was the B side, and he had to fight the A side in Pacquiao, and he had to risk his weight. What's up? Oh, he had to risk his weight. What are you doing, babe? Oh, I don't know which way you're going. Yep. Yeah, this is what happens whenever you're filming a podcast and got family home. Yep. Give us a second. Almost at her. No, I know, but I'm in my zone. You broke up my zone. That's the last time. Adios. Love you. So anyway, so again, that was Margarito, Pacquiao. Pacquiao, for the Pacquiao fight, how are you the welterweight champion? You're fighting a guy who's the challenger, but you have to fight at a catchweight for him. That doesn't make any sense. So two times, they robbed Cotto. 2 times. The first time with Margarito, the fact that he survived that fight is, and if you look at that fight, go back and look at the fight. I remember watching that fight live. Like, what the hell is in this? Like, there's no way any human hits this hard to do that much damage to somebody's face. But that took something out of Cotto. It changed him. Ever since that fight, it changed him. He was never the same man. After that, he just fought because of the love of the sport. He didn't fight to continue to be great and stuff like that. He just kept continuing to take fights and be smart with his money and just go on and have a luxurious career. So I bring that back to Tyson Fury. What he did to Deontay Wilder in this last fight, we may never see the killer Deontay Wilder again. We may never see him again because of what Tyson Fury took out of him. And it's even though he knows, listen, guys, If you not training gloves, not the straps, we're talking the tie gloves. I've seen some fighters try to disprove this. It's not like global warming, right? This isn't like global warming, like where you have scientists saying it's true, you scientists saying it's not. Tyson Fury cheated. It's that simple. If you go back and watch a lot of the old fighters, and this is what he is very similar, but there's a difference. Ali was known flick his jab, flick. Now, mind you, I'm for camera reasons, I'm flicking with my right hand, but really it's flick, and then drop the right hand. But for camera reasons, I'll show like this: flick. It's a trick. Every fighter knows this trick. You flick the jab, and if you flick it with your hand open, the goal is to cover the eyes so the right hand can come after it. So flick, bang. Either way, even Pacquiao, pop, bang. And then he'll duck out of the way. Pop, bang. It's a known trick. And even back in the day, those gloves were not the quality of gloves that we have today. So back then, I could understand it in the 60s, the 70s. I can understand looking at those gloves. The technology in those gloves, fighters today would not fight in those gloves. Fighters today would not dare put on those gloves from the 60s and 70s because of the quality of the glove. So you can't tell me in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 that the quality of these gloves, horsehair, Reyes, or regular or not, whatever brand, the quality and the technology that goes into these gloves, you can't tell me that they're flicking like that. It's not flicking like, it's not going to do that. If your hand is all the way in there, as big as he is, 6'9", 300 pounds, 6'9", 280, anything above 250, I'm 6'4", 256. This is my hand. He's 5 inches taller than me. I guarantee you his hand is bigger than mine. Your hand wrapped up in that glove, you don't have no room. You can fit it in there. When they gotta force that's why after every fight, you see them after they gotta cut it off, and it might take one or two guys to pull the glove off. If your glove just comes straight off, there's something wrong. And the reason why he was able to do so much damage and not hurt his hand is because it was wrapped. So he's hit, and this was a great video by Steve Cunningham. Go out, check his video on YouTube. He demonstrated how hard he could punch with his hand halfway in the glove. I don't know if Deontay Wilder will ever be the same. But we know that Fury continued to tell everybody, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to stop him. I'm training somebody else to hit harder. But did you necessarily hit harder? Did you? And it's kind of Cotto getting smashed in the face by Margarito. He could not tell that there was something in this guy's gloves. Neither could Wilder. So whenever I hear, oh, you can tell, no, you can't. You can't tell. You're getting hit, your adrenaline's going, your focus is to hit them. You get hit with a good shot, oh, this shit feels kind of hard. That's it. Your brain cannot register, his hand isn't all the way in his glove. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that, especially these guys, people who've been champions, 40 knockouts and stuff like that. It doesn't register. It would never register. It can never register. It's impossible to register. Impossible. Like Cotto. Cotto left that fight not thinking that this guy cheated, not thinking that this guy has bricks in his, plaster in his wraps. He's just thinking that this guy hits hard. This guy can crack. He beat me. Same thing with Wilder. But the truth came out. And you know what? Margarito got exposed, and Margarito got what he deserved. Twice. He got caught by Shane Mosley and got destroyed. Now, mind you, this is the Miguel Cotto that beat Shane Mosley. This is the Miguel Cotto that beat Shane Mosley, fights Margarito, gets destroyed. Margarito fights Mosley without the plaster, gets destroyed. Shane Mosley's best fight. Naseem Richardson's best coaching by catching the plaster and telling him what he told him in the corner, which is all over everybody's social media, mine too. Check it out. Of what he says to Shane Mosley in the corner. Swim without getting wet. Run them combinations. You got the fastest hands in this division. Then Margarito goes on to fight Pacquiao. And the reason why I brought up Pacquiao before, this is documented. When Margarito fought Pacquiao at Dallas Cowboy Stadium, right up here, I'm in Houston, right up there in Dallas. You got footage. This ain't me hating. This ain't none of that. Paula Malignaggi, shout out to you. This ain't me hating. I'm just speaking facts. You got Emmanuel Stewart on the broadcast telling everybody this is illegal. Manny Pacquiao wrapping his own hands, starting with tape. This is illegal. And then pummeled Margarito. Pummeled him at 150 pounds of catch weight. Margarito went to Mexico, got some bullshit, came back because after the Wichita fight, wasn't allowed to fight, came back, and then because he got popped cheating in the Mosley fight, got suspended, fought in Mexico, came back, fought Manny Pacquiao. Got destroyed, got what he deserved. Got exactly what he deserved. But Pacquiao cheated in that fight. You can't start wrapping your hands with tape. You got to use gauze. Go to any amateur fight and let one of these coaches get caught by the commission wrapping their fighters' hands with tape, starting out with tape. It's got to be gauze. You can't wrap with tape. Who is this, Colin? Colin. I'm filming my podcast right now. Let me hit you back, kid. All right, I'll hit you back. That's my boy, Colin. Shout out to Colin's Kitchen. Shout out to Lindsey Graham and Productions. Follow them. I'll put a link to them in the bottom. Killing every day. I'll put a link to everybody in the bottom. Who is calling me? Everybody named Mama's blowing me up. Oh, okay. I love you too, baby. But yeah, so, he got what he deserved. And back to Fury. Maybe Fury will get what he deserves in the next fight. Because we know he's not coming in there with them gloves like that. He's going to have the glove all the way super duper tight. To me, signing that fight with Anthony Joshua, that was dumb. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't sign fights with other fighters before you got to do a rematch with a killer. Loss or not. Evander Holyfield didn't sign no other fights or look past Mike Tyson when he had to fight him again, even though he beat him. Even though he stopped Tyson, you think Evander Holyfield was like, oh man, I stopped him, I can look forward to other fights? Hell no. I don't know what Tyson Fury's doing with this COVID stuff, but signing a fight with Anthony Joshua when you got Deontay Wilder in front of you, knowing what you just did, you have a whole different man in front of you. And maybe you succeed, and maybe you beat Deontay Wilder again, but nobody knows. Because you almost died the first fight. You couldn't keep this man down. His cornermen stopped his fight. That's the difference. He got dropped, got back up, got dropped, got back up, got dropped, got back up. You got put to sleep. So we're going to see. We're going to see. That's what we're going to do. We're going to see what really happens in the next fight. When it's on 11 level playing field. Because Deontay Wilder knows. He knows what he did. He knows what Fury did. I guarantee you, when they have all these press conferences and stuff like that, oh, it's coming out. It's about to be a very ugly press conference. You cheated when you fought me. I got kids. We both got kids, families, and you cheated? You cheated to beat me? Yeah, he gonna try to kill him. Deontay Wilder is gonna try to kill Tyson Fury. He may not succeed because it ain't like Tyson Fury can't fight. The boy can fight. He can fight his ass off. So it ain't gonna be easy for Deontay Wilder either. But he's fighting with a different chip on his shoulder this time. That's what he's doing. He's fighting with a different chip on his shoulder. And that chip, hopefully he gets a to him chip. Hopefully he gets him to that championship, gets his belt back. The fact that the WBC is kind of being lackadaisical on this and then allowing him to go sign another fight with somebody else, that's kind of really put a sour taste in my mouth. You can't do this to guys. You can't do this. If anything, vacate the belt and make them neither one of them champions. You can't do this. But you know what? Now I think about it, they didn't take away Cotto's loss to Margarito. It's sad. It's sad when these types of things happen to fighters. It's sad. Fighters, they fight guys. They gotta. Even De La Hoya, his last fight. Everybody gives Pacquiao credit for fighting De La Hoya. De La Hoya hadn't fought at welterweight in like 6 or 7 years before he fought Pacquiao. Like, give me a break. Y'all act like Pacquiao fought a prime De La Hoya. Or if you go watch the 24/7, which was done after Floyd started 24/7, you go watch the 24/7 with Floyd and De La Hoya. De La Hoya is taking weight loss pills. Getting whooped in the gym by Edwin Valero, may he rest in peace. Getting whooped in the gym by Edwin Valero, because that was his sparring partner to prepare for Pacquiao. And then he's taking weight loss pills to get down to 147. Y'all seen what it takes. You just saw. If you didn't see UFC 251, you didn't learn anything, learn something from Masvidal. The man had to lose 20 pounds in 6 days. That fight shouldn't even have to happen. I'm glad whatever money he got, I'm glad. And I was not rooting for him to win. I didn't want him to win. I wasn't rooting for him to win. I think he was doing a little bit too much. But again, that's what they got to do. He's taking the kind of Conor McGregor route. That's the known. You're in the UFC, that's the known route. You want to be big in the UFC, you got to talk. And Masvidal's been talking. But the dude can fight. He ain't never been stopped. That's number one. He ain't never been stopped. That's number one. And number two, the dude can fight. To go 6 days, lose 20 pounds, fly to freaking Abu Dhabi and fight Usman? Kamaru Usman? This shredded dude, this dude is probably born with a six-pack. The champ, and fight the champ, and then go the distance? Nah, that's not fair. Two, I'm glad he's safe. And three, if he has a full 8-week training camp, I can only imagine what that fight's going to look like. I can only imagine. Because he stuffed a lot of those takedowns. And it ain't like he got his ass whooped. He just ran out of gas. That's it. He just wasn't efficient. That's pretty good. That means he's a natural born fighter to walk around like that and can fight in those conditions. That's why I love boxing. Because you don't see any of these other guys except in no forced fights. Any of these other champions, guys who are of that caliber, they're not fighting under these conditions. They're not doing it. I'm not doing it. That's exactly what they're going to tell their promoter or whoever the hell they're with, whether or not they're signed with PBC, Top Rank. You don't see Terrence Crawford fighting. You see Shakur Stevenson because he's young. You don't see Terrence Crawford fighting. He don't even got a fight yet. He ain't doing it. Nah, I'm sorry. You're not putting me in a freaking bubble somewhere in Abu Dhabi, not even being like pun intended, and making me fight at 4:00 in the afternoon or some weird ass hour. Hell no. Even a Tyson Fury Wilder fight, that shit ain't gonna be in no random ass place. So I don't know. That's just I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I feel sorry for those guys. Keep speaking up about getting paid. Keep speaking up The more you guys speak up about getting your fair pay for the UFC, the more everybody will listen and support you, and boxing will support you. I support you. You guys need to get paid more. This is crazy. This is crazy. If those two guys got paid, I got to see the numbers, because if Conor McGregor's highest payday was $3 million from the UFC, I can only imagine what these guys were paid. I can only imagine what these guys were paid. I got to look that up. I mean, I can look it up right now, but I don't want to, interrupt my flow. But shout out to those guys. Those guys, to fight like that, that's crazy. I hope that you got extremely compensated on the front and on the back end. You know what I mean? So that's my take on the Tyson Fury. He cheated. I've watched enough. I've seen it live. And then I've watched enough examples of both sides, people explaining, it fits. He wasn't doing it. You can't do it. Versus what he was doing with his hand right there. When your hand is wrapped as tight as these guys' hands are, when you have that type of experience and you're blessed with hands that don't have hands problems, like Fury. And again, there's another video of Fury doing the exact same thing when the referee comes over and touches his thumb and his thumb's not in his glove. And you can see the look on Tyson Fury's face like, oh shit, what's going to happen? You can see it on his face like, what's about to happen? They took his glove off. He had to put his glove back on. They had to pause the fight. The fight didn't even start because of Tyson Fury's left hand. And now all of a sudden it happens again after he claims that he's going to knock this dude out, and he didn't do it in the first round. I mean, in the first fight. Like, this don't make no sense. But now we get to see it because it happened. And I hope that Deontay Wilder isn't too scarred from this, isn't too scarred from that. We're about to see what's really real in their third fight. We're about to see what's really real. That's the reason why the guys like Ruiz and Anthony Joshua, I have a lot of respect for them. Anthony Joshua lost, got smoked by Andy Ruiz, and then came back. And I just outboxed him. That's it. Learn to stick and move and outbox him for 12 rounds to get all his belts back. He came in. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you've never seen in history that I know of anybody saying, I'm going to come back and I'm going to walk through you. You've never seen anybody lose. And in the Fury Wilder case, it was a draw, but you basically lost. You've never seen anybody lose or get close to losing and then say, in the next fight, I'm going to walk through you. Yeah, the next fight, I'm Sugar Ray Leonard. The next fight, Tommy Hearns, I'm going to walk through you. I'm going to walk through you. That's what I'm going to do. Hey, I'm Sugar Ray Leonard. Hey, Hands of Stone. How am I forgetting his name? But you know what I mean? I'm going to walk through you. No, he outboxed, no mas. He outboxed him. He outboxed him. Second fight around, he outboxed him. Ain't no walk through. Tyson Fury told Deontay Wilder, hey, I'm going to stop you in 2 rounds. It's just a little, now that, 2020, hindsight is 2020, we get to see Roberto Duran. Thank you. It's late. You didn't see Sugar Ray Leonard tell Roberto Duran, next fight, I'm going to walk through you. I'm stopping you in 2 rounds. People would have said, there's no way Ray Leonard is stopping Roberto Duran in 2 rounds. It's impossible. But that's what we heard Fury tell Wilder for weeks, 8 weeks. And then presumably did it to the naked eye, he did it. And then we see this. Done that up. But speaking of heavyweights, since I'm in the heavyweight division, and I know hopefully you're still watching, or maybe you fast forwarded to this. Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. Let me take a drink of water, because this. I'm not going to be too long-winded on this. If you watch my last podcast on this, not the episode. If you watch episode 8, episode 9 was UFC 251. If you watch episode 8, you hear me talk about, I don't want to see Mike Tyson fight. Because I thought Mike Tyson was going to fight Evander Holyfield. We saw what he did to him back then. Evander Holyfield is a different type of human. He's not normal. He's not normal. And he's got Mike Tyson's card. Now, is he a lot older now? Yeah, he's a lot older. He's definitely not the man that he used to be. And I think Tyson has cleared his body, mind, and soul, and he's as close to his younger days as he's ever going to be. Like, Mike Tyson's career was extremely great. Then he had a spot, and then he had a long part in his life to where all of his wins and stuff like that were just it was just like a shell of himself. Back when he had the hair and he was doing WWE and stuff like that, that wasn't the prime Mike Tyson from his early days. That wasn't that. Of course, he was still knocking guys out. Tyson that fought Lennox Lewis and all this other stuff. That's not the Mike Tyson. This, to me, mentally wise, this Mike Tyson today is better than the Tyson that fought mentally. Is better than the Tyson that fought Lennox Lewis. And that Tyson would have knocked out a lot of guys today. So he's a lot clearer, confident, as close to his mental prime as he's ever been, which is great. That's great. Use that in the world, right? Well, my concern was he's about to go fight Evander Holyfield, whose speech is already slow. Evander Holyfield ain't talking the same, guys. He's not talking the same like he used to. I can't watch this. But he's been training his ass off. And you go watch Evander Holyfield versus George Foreman. Or go watch any other early Evander Holyfield fight. He's bang for bang. Go watch. There's never been a Tyson fight like Evander Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe. And all three times Evander Holyfield fought Riddick Bowe, you've never seen Tyson in a fight like that. You've never seen Tyson dig that deep to beat somebody, let alone fight him 3 times. 3 times. Through sickness, through everything. You've never seen, there is no fight for Tyson like that. And Tyson knows Evander Holyfield is better than him. And that's the reason why I think Tyson took Roy Jones. I think he plans on fighting Evander Holyfield. But he knows what Evander Holyfield did to him. He knows what Evander Holyfield did. And Evander Holyfield, he's came out, he's gave a little of how he feels of Tyson not taking the fight first, like everybody thought. But hey, give it to Tyson. It's his league, this Legends League. And he teamed up with Thriller with Mike Tyson. So, hey, he's doing the Floyd Mayweather thing. But the difference is, Floyd fought the ranks right there. Robert Guerrero, bang. Robert Guerrero beats this dude, becomes WBC champ. I got to fight. Calling out Floyd, hey, I'm next. I'm right here in line, right here at welterweight. I'm next, right there. Bang. Not Andre Berto. That was a minute ago. Victor Ortiz. When Victor Ortiz beat undefeated Andre Berto, don't forget that. When Victor Ortiz beat undefeated Andre Berto, who did Floyd fight? He was there to watch that fight. Like, who am I going to fight next? Oh, that guy beat the champ? Let me fight that guy. Some of y'all, this is why I can't even have conversations about boxing, because people don't know nothing. In the comments down below, put the last undisputed welterweight champion in. If you know, put the last undisputed welterweight champ, and it wasn't, I'll give you a hint, it wasn't Pacquiao. Put the last, and it wasn't Floyd, we're not talking about Floyd. We're saying before Floyd took over the welterweight division, before Floyd, and before Pacquiao even joined it, because he was never undisputed welterweight champion. There was one undisputed welterweight champion. Put the comments down below if you know. If you're watching this video, put it down below. Because this is what, I'm sick of people saying this raggedy, I'm not going to cuss on this podcast, but this is what I'm sick of. You can't tell me he's picking and choosing and stuff like that when, oh, hold on, let me see. Oh, hold on. I just moved up to welterweight. Okay, let me see. Okay. All right, I got to move up to welterweight. Okay, so the champ just lost his belt. Not even going to say his name. The undisputed welterweight champ won his belts, then lost his belts. But because he was with Don King, he got to keep one belt. And it was a money fight, a huge pay-per-view fight. People said, we'll just chalk that one up. This guy's still the champ. He just happened to lose. Sometimes it happens. He just happened to lose. Floyd fought him. Floyd beat him. His next fight was the guy who beat him, and Carlos Baldomir. Don't ever come up to me and speak boxing or on this channel or anybody else. That's the reason why I really rock with Omar, because we know the ins and outs and again, I'm not going to say who it is. I know who it is. He fought Carlos Baldomir, he lost. That's another hint. But my point is that that's what Tyson is doing. But the difference is, like Pacquiao, when he's fighting Joshua Clottey, you've never seen Joshua Clottey since. There's not a person in this comment box, there's not a person viewing this that has seen Joshua Clottey outside of fighting Manny Pacquiao, if you even saw that fight. If you even saw that fight, or fighting a Margarito at 150 pounds, when you got all these other welterweights out there. You got all these other people out there. You had Floyd at that time, and you fight Joshua Clottey. You fight, I don't even know, bums. I digress. My point is, Tyson is picking and choosing because he runs this legend's company. So he picked Roy Jones Jr. I don't want to see Roy die. Roy to me will always be Roy Jones Jr., and I'm saying this and I stand by this. Roy Jones Jr. was the greatest fighter of all time until he came back down from heavyweight to fight Antonio Tarver the first time. If Roy Jones Jr. had retired after fighting John Ruiz at the heavyweight, or after his first win against Antonio Tarver, if Roy Jones Jr. never took the rematch against Antonio Tarver, or if he never even took the fight after coming down from heavyweight, and so he gained muscle to get to heavyweight, then did whatever the heck he had to do, God knows what he had to do, to lose all that muscle to fight his next fight at light heavyweight and defend his title, in which he won. If he hadn't have done either one of those two things, regardless of what Floyd did, Roy Jones Jr., we'd be having the Jordan versus LeBron James argument. That's the argument that we would be having. That's how good Roy Jones was. Past tense. He's only had one official fight at heavyweight. Roy Jones Jr., at no age in his life, especially now after all the vicious, when he got knocked out by Glenn Johnson, I swear to God, I was a kid, I thought he died. I thought I just saw my hero die. In the ring by our journeyman. We have not seen Glenn Johnson since. I think Chad Johnson beat Glenn Johnson. I think something like that. Like he went on to fight somebody else, but it wasn't like illustrious, career after he knocked out Roy Jones Jr. I don't want to see. Roy Jones Jr. has no business. The fact that they gave him a license, he has no business fighting at heavyweight against Mike Tyson. He has no business. Excuse me, this gets me hyped. He has no business fighting at heavyweight against Mike Tyson. And it's sad too. The fact that Thriller knows what they're doing, and so does, to me, I can't believe that Mike Tyson would do this. I can't believe that Mike Tyson, out of all legends to pick, out of all the legends out there to pick, you got Vladimir and Vitaly Klitschko. You got Lennox Lewis. You pick a light heavyweight. I don't even know what to say to that. You and Evander Holyfield are both putting out these boxing videos, building the crescendo to a third rematch fight that we didn't get to see when you guys were at your prime, and you pick Roy Jones Jr. after he's been demolished mentally, after so many, we're talking journeyman people who we've never, unless you watch, I watch all these fights live because I know when these guys are fighting, but unless you could just, now everybody's just going on YouTube to see Roy Jones Jr. get his block knocked off, get knocked out, land on his face against guys that are bums, that are not ranked anywhere today. And you're trying to tell me that's the guy you pick for your first fight? Just to win? Just to get a win? You pick this guy? I'm going to watch it. I don't support it. I'm going to watch it. I'll tell you this, I'm not paying for it. I'll see it, but I'm seeing it because I'm in boxing. But to fight Roy Jones Jr. over Evander Holyfield, who's actively training. Roy Jones Jr. is not actively training. Holyfield is training for your ass. He's training for your ass. He is in the gym training with Antonio Tarver for you. And you pick a light heavyweight. And Roy Jones Jr. is taller than you. But he's never been bigger than you. You were bigger than Roy Jones Jr. at 16, 17, 18 years old. You were bigger than Roy Jones Jr. ever in life at 16, 17, 18 years old. He became champion at 20, the youngest heavyweight champion ever. The fact that he's picking, it bothers me because there's nothing that Roy can do. Everybody knows that Roy's a shell of himself. And only reason why Tyson is doing this is because he wants his first fight to be a win. And Roy will never not sign a fight. Ever. Ever. It's built in him. He is a born natural fighter. He may not start the fight, but he will always stand up. If you call Roy Jones Jr. out, he's going to fight. Period. There's a switch automatically in his head. Some people are just built like that. There's a switch. You notice Tyson never fought Riddick Bowe. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Never fought Riddick Bowe. Think Tyson, when he saw Riddick Bowe fight Evander Holyfield all those times, you think he wanted any of that after getting smoked by Buster Douglas? You think he wanted any of Riddick Bowe? Nope. Nope. Sorry. Didn't happen. And don't tell me, oh, well, Roy was supposed to fight Tyson back in the day. Yeah, he was in his prime. That's a fair fight. Roy is completely gone. Like, Tyson don't get knocked out like that. Tyson's been stopped, but he don't get his bell rung and he sleep. Certain people get hit and they go to sleep. Amir Khan is like that. Amir Khan gets hit, he goes to sleep. He gets hit, he goes to sleep. Roy Jones Jr. is like that. He gets hit, he goes to sleep. And he's so much later in age. It's not fair. It's not right. I don't want to see it. I do not want to see it. And I hope after it happens, and I pray that Roy Jones Jr. comes out of this fight the same. We all saw what happened to Zab Judah last time. Going into his last fight, being in a coma, having to have, he has a huge scar to relieve the pressure from his brain. I don't want that to happen to Roy Jones Jr. It's sad. Tyson is doing to Roy Jones what Evander plans on doing to Tyson. 8 rounds? They're not even fighting little 4 rounds. They're fighting 8 rounds. That's 4 rounds shy of a championship fight. 4 rounds shy of a championship fight. That's a lot of rounds. No headgear? It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. I cannot believe that he's fighting Roy Jones. I'm not excited. I'm going to watch it because it's a spectacle. But I'm completely, I'm so worried for Roy Jones Jr. It's not even funny. This Tyson is mentally now just as sharp as he was when he's a kid. He's clear. He's ready. They're still fearing him, though, because that's the reason why he didn't take the Evander Holyfield. They're still fearing him. They're still fearing him. And to me, as a man, one man to another, you're Mike Tyson. You should have never picked on Roy Jones. Ever. 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 You don't get no respect. When you were heavyweight champion and he was in his prime, you get no respect for that. Because if you beat him, you beat a light heavyweight. You beat a light heavyweight. This ain't like somebody like a Pacquiao. Pacquiao can go up and challenge Canelo today. It ain't fair. Because Canelo's in his prime is smashing on dudes. You saw what he did at 175. But what I'm saying is that that's the type of killer that Pacquiao is. Now, Roy Jones Jr. was knocking people out and whooping people, but that's what he's doing. He was whooping people with his speed and stuff like that, but he was knocking people out. He had a good left hook, good right hand and stuff like that. He would drop you and stuff like that, but right up until he fought Antonio Tarver, then that was it. He's no longer himself. Therefore, he does not need to be in the class of these other super elite freaking heavyweights. I don't know. That's my stance on that fight. That's to me, it's disgusting that Mike Tyson, out of all people, would choose Roy Jones Jr. to be his first fight for this Legends League. I want to see Roy Jones Jr. fight another light heavy. I want to see Roy Jones Jr. fight Tarver again. Fight somebody else. Fight Bernard Hopkins again. You know what I mean? Something like that. Fight Oscar De La Hoya. Something like that. Fight, you know what I mean? James Toney's a heavyweight. That's who I could see fighting Mike Tyson. Not Roy. James Toney ain't never been knocked out like this. Mike Tyson's going to kill him. He's going to kill him. Ain't nothing that Roy Jones Jr. has at this day in his career or can train to in 8 weeks that can keep Mike Tyson off of him. And Mike Tyson's only going to get more sharper and more better in the next 8 weeks because he's mentally clear. And mental is the biggest thing in boxing, period. And he's mentally clear. I just want to see what he looks like up against Holyfield because Holyfield is now waiting. You done pissed Holyfield off. Holyfield is now waiting. Holyfield's going to train twice as hard to get the Mike Tyson fight because of what you just did. Because once you destroy Roy Jones Jr., you're going to have a shredded, older, but shredded Evander Holyfield looking like, I bet you can't do that to me. Fight a real heavyweight. Let's go 8 rounds. Let's go. So that's what I want to see. I want to see Holyfield, Tyson, 3. That's what I want to see because we saw what he did for 2. So I'm not giving him any credit for fighting Roy Jones Jr. That's it. And I'm out.